Good afternoon, sports fans. Welcome to a very special edition of And That's the Game as we come on to you a little bit early, normally coming on at 4 o'clock, Mondays through Friday, coming on today a little bit at 3:30 Eastern as we have some things going on later on in the day, including more MLS playoffs. Of course, that's always fun. But the breaking news story of the day that we are talking about is the fact that we may very well, within short order, have fans back in stadiums in the Premier League. England Prime Minister Boris Johnson, formerly the mayor of London, England Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that as many as 5,000 fans could possibly be back into Premier League stadiums after the Christmas break. This would be a hard change from the fact that every Premier League game since the return of play has been played in a closed door environment. So this would signal a shift while we are seeing a massive impact of the coronavirus second or third wave happening throughout the entire world. We are seeing cases rise, not only here in the US, we are seeing cases rise over in Europe too. England is undergoing a lockdown scenario right now. So I'm kind of surprised as to why Boris Johnson is saying he's going to let fans back into the stadiums. Sure, having 5,000 fans in a Premier League stadium isn't going to be much of anything compared to it. Remember, if you haven't seen Premier League stadiums on TV, these stadiums are about as big as NFL or college football stadiums are here in the US. We are talking 80, 90,000 seat stadiums. That pales in comparison to some of the MLS stadiums that we see, which are only 20,000 seats. So you have to imagine, take LAFC's stadium, take Columbus Crew Stadium, take FC Dallas's stadium, take Houston Dynamo's stadium, take Minnesota United's stadium, take the Philadelphia Union, and make that stadium 4 times the size. This is what Seattle Sounders see every day when they play at CenturyLink Field, what New England Revolution see playing at Gillette Stadium, what FC Cincinnati sees currently playing at the University of Cincinnati Stadium. You're talking about 80,000 seat stadiums, 80, 90,000 seat stadiums that are only going to have 5,000 people. Now, yes, of course, there's social distance capability when you're only talking about 5,000 people, but the bigger fact of the matter here ends up being that we are in the midst of seeing 200,000 plus cases a day here in the US. We're in the midst of seeing 1,000 plus deaths a day here in the US. We're in the midst of seeing something in comparison to that with major mitigation factors in England. Yes, their positivity rate is smaller than ours is. Yes, their population of the country, of the entire United Kingdom, is smaller than that of the United States. But the Premier League has been lucky enough in that it's gotten off, since its return to play, with having little to no issue involving players, coaches, and fans, because there have been no fans in the stands. I'm not sure that, given where we're at right now with the virus, and given where we're at right now in Premier League action, this is the best opportunity or the best time or the best option for bringing people back into the stadiums. The Champions League is also going on, and we still have Premier League teams that are going to play. Now, UEFA has made the decision that no Champions League games prior to the semifinals will have fans. So if you're the Premier League, how are you going to say, we're going to let 5,000 people back into Old Trafford for a Manchester United game, or the Emirates, or Etihad, but we're going to not allow those same fans to come if it's a Champions League match? What about European qualifiers for the national teams? What about Olympic qualifiers that still have to be held? What about Nations League matches that are currently underway? Boris Johnson's statement of allowing 5,000 fans back into stadiums in England was uneducated, because the Premier League and the Rugby Nations League and the cricket leagues are not the only stadium leagues in the world, and they are not the only stadium leagues in action right now that involve England teams. So while this might be a great moment to sit and celebrate and say, we're going to get fans back in stadiums all around England. We're going to get fans back in stadiums all around the UK. This is going to be great. We're getting back to normal. You may have just opened a can of worms. And that's not exactly something that you want to do right now. Not while we're in a good moment of time in England, and not while we are going into the holiday break. I'm all for fans being back in. I want stadiums open all across the world. I was adoring the pictures and the videos that I saw out of Australia this past week with a full packed, like 66,000 people in a stadium in Australia for a rugby match. Here's the difference. Australia has had about 12,000 cases, period, and about 730 deaths, period. Not in the last week, not in the last month, not in the last quarter. We're talking about period. Since February. Australia and New Zealand have every right in the world to have 66,000 fans in stadiums, with every single person wearing a mask, with every single person having taken care of things, with the fact that they flattened their curve. To every other country in the world, whether it be Italy, whether it be Spain, whether it be Portugal, whether it be the United States, Brazil, Argentina, any other major soccer world power, you have not flattened your curve. You do not have the right to have 66,000 people in the stadium. You do not have the right to even have 5,000 people in the stadium. If you do not want to see your games go down like the SEC football games are going down here in the U.S., like ACC football games are going down here in the U.S., like college basketball is crashing down before it even starts, keep the doors closed. Let the players play. Let everybody stay safe at home and watch the games on television, because that is the way that we will continue to get through this all together. And I believe we will have fans back in the stadium very soon. But let's not do it until it's after the New Year's, and let's not do it until we have the vaccine. And that's the game for November 23rd, 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We will be back tomorrow at our regular time, 4 p.m. on the Sports Fan Base Network, Rhode Island. Until then, take care. Stay safe, socially distance, wash your hands, wear a mask. We'll get through this together, and we'll all be back together in stadiums sometime very soon. Until then, have a good night.